we did the first one, it came out totally perfectly. I don't want to get your hopes up because they're probably not all going to come out perfectly. Most of your answers are probably going to have square roots in them, just so you know. Okay, you ready to do the second one?
No.
Alright, so is this, first question, is it set up correctly?
No.
Why not?
Not equal to 0.
0. Okay, so is everybody okay if I move the negative 12x over?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would add it. Now, why am I going to put it in the middle?
That's the formula.
Okay, because you wanted to go ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, right? Okay, so after I get it set equal to 0, I want to label what are my a, my b, and my c. So what's my a? 4. What's my b? And what's my c? -6. Okay, so now we can plug it into our formula. So I want the opposite of b, so negative 12 plus or minus the square root 12 squared minus, okay, what comes next? Okay, so 4 times, what's my a? 4, what's my c? -6. All over 2 times 4.
This is fantastic.
Okay, so are I good so far? Okay, so if I go to simplify, do what's inside your square root first. So 12 squared is 144. Okay, now what happens when you have two negatives? That's going to turn into a positive, right? Because it would be minus a negative. So if you see two negatives right there together, turn that into a positive. So then I would take 4 times 4 times 6, which is what, 16 times 6, 96? So it's 144 plus 96.
244.
Okay, so everybody's good so far? Okay, so I would have negative 12 plus or minus the square root of 240 over 8. How do I get 8? 2 times 4, good. Okay, is 240 a perfect square? No. Okay, now, I don't know exactly how each of you learned how to break down square roots, but I know that Ms. Baker does factor trees, but I don't know if that's how Ms. Freeze does it, but I'm going to do factor trees. If you know a different way of breaking these down by doing perfect squares, you can do it that way. Okay? But I'm going to do factor trees. So what could 240 break into? 24 and 10. Okay? What does 24 break into? 6 and 4. What does 6 break into? Okay. 4 breaks into 2 and 2. And what does 10 break into?
5 and 2.
Okay. So you go all the way down to your prime numbers. So you are not going to have decimal answers. We're doing everything that's perfect. So you now move from Algebra 1 to Algebra 2. Okay? So now I would have negative 12 plus or minus. Okay, when you're simplifying square roots, when you have a pair, it gets to go on the outside. So I have a pair of 2's, and then I have another pair of 2's. So what's 2 times 2? 4. They get to go outside. If you don't have a friend, you have to stay inside. You can't go play. So 3 and 5 don't have friends. So So what's 3 times 5? They have to stay inside. Okay. Now, if I don't look at my square root, can I simplify this?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's something that goes in all those. What goes in all those? Something bigger than 2. 4. So I would have to divide those all by 4. So this would be -3 plus or minus. Now you can put the 1 in front of the square root of 15, or you could just put square root of 15. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. Hey, you can't go any further. So this is your answer. This is 2 answers. This is -3 plus square root of 15 over 2. And -3 minus square root of 15 over 2. So you could leave it like that too if you want to. If you want to go ahead and show them separate. Okay, but we're not going to do decimals. We're going to do perfect answers. Okay, how do you feel about that one? The only thing that should be new going from Algebra 1 to Algebra 2 is in Algebra 1 you would have got decimals here, where in Algebra 2 you're going to leave it. Okay? The second thing that will be new is your imaginary numbers. You're going to have i's in some of your answers. So this one we're going to have an I. What's an I? Imaginary number. Okay, which means if you have complex roots, that means this graph does not cross the x-axis. Alright, so step 1, is it set equal to 0? Yes, so then what's my A, my B, and my C?
4. 3.
A is 4, B is
3.
and C is 5. Okay? So I would have the opposite of B, so -3 plus or minus the square root of what goes inside there?
4.
Well, okay, so what's my B?
3 squared.
3 squared. Minus 4 what? 4 times what? Times 4 times, what's the other one? 5. Over 2 times what? 4. Okay, what do I do now?
Simplify.
Simplify. Okay, so Elijah, simplify. What's the times square root for us?
Your 3 should become a 9.
Okay, so my 3 will become 9, then what?
And then your 4AC is 60.
Okay.
80. My bad. 80.
I'm pretty sure it's 80.
It's 80. It's 80. Yeah.
So what's 9 minus 80?
71.
Negative 71. Okay. Everybody agree? Alright, so if I were to rewrite this, I would have -3 plus or minus the square root of -71 over what? 8. Okay, is 71 perfect? No, it's not perfect. Can you break down 71? No, you actually can't. Okay? But what do I have to do because it's negative? You have to have an I. So this would be -3 plus or minus I square root of 71 over 8. So that's your answer. If you want to, you can split it up into both parts separately. Okay, does anybody know the last kind we haven't done yet?
Fractions.
We did, those still have fractions.
No.
Somebody else? Okay, what if we just cross the axis one time, where you just have 1 0? Okay, we'll do one more. So you could have two answers, two real answers, so these are real numbers. You could have two complex answers, or you could have one answer. Does anybody know when we would have one answer?
If the vertex is on X.
Okay, so the vertex is on the x. So what does that mean about the quadratic formula? If your discriminant is 0. So if you take the square root of 0, if you add 0 to a number, does it change it? If you subtract 0 from a number, does it change it? No. So if you get what's inside the square root, which is called your discriminant, you get that to equal 0, then you only have one answer. Okay? Alright, so what would I do first on number 4? Add 9, okay. So I have to get set equal to 0. So I have x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 0. Okay, so what's my A? 1. What's my B? And what's my C? Okay. Okay, so this time I have a -6 as my B, so what's my opposite of -6? Yeah, so this would turn into a positive number out here. If it makes you feel better, you can write it like negative, and then change it to positive later. Okay. So then plus or minus square root of -6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9 all over 2 times 1. Okay, now, this is where you're going to be careful for those of you that are so reliant on your calculators. What's a negative times a negative?
Positive.
A positive. So if you put in -6 squared in your calculator, if you have one like the ones over there, if you put it in like this, it's going to tell you that that's -36. Because it follows the order of operations. The order of operations is exponents then multiplying. So if you want to if you're reliant and you do everything on your calculator, make sure you put it in like this, so that it knows that you're doing -6 times -6. Okay? So, -6 squared is actually positive 36. What's 4 times 1 times 9?
36.
Okay, and 36 minus 36 is 0. So I would have 6 plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2. Okay, well what's the square root of 0? 0. Okay, so if I want to add or subtract 0, it doesn't change my answer at all. So my answer is just 6 over 2. Does that reduce? To 3. This only has one answer. You will never have one answer that has an imaginary part to it. Okay, because the only way you get one answer is if the square root is 0. Okay, I don't need to like freak out when you see this. There's a lot of problems on here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.